Hi, Anthony.
Hello, Claudine.
So we're here today with some interesting information. Someone in our international department brought this to our attention. Shout out to June.
June, thank you.
Yeah. So there's something called the bad boy list or the IRS list of foreign financial institutions or facilitators. What the heck does that mean?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's just not boys on there. We did see a girl added. Congratulations. But it's sort of a dubious distinction because the bad boy list is the list of people who may have intentionally assisted U.S. persons in avoiding their tax responsibilities.
Okay.
And the problem is that if you have dealt with one of these bad boys and you enter into the IRS offshore voluntary disclosure program, instead of getting the 27.5% penalty, you get slapped with a 50% penalty, basically one willful FBAR penalty. And that penalty applies to things that might not be bank accounts. So if you had commercial real estate overseas, it would apply to that. So anyway, there's situations to limit that damage, or there's ways to deal with that.
Yes.
I won't get into that too much, but that's really what it comes down to. Now, a lot of these people already have used a program, but I know a lot of people haven't. They're just sort of waiting for the dust to settle and smoke to clear, and they might be saying, I'll cause more problems if I come clean, or I won't be able to afford it. And I would just say you might want to get a professional opinion as opposed to, or you get more than one to say what your options are. Instead of sitting there waiting for something to happen, which could certainly happen, because here's the thing. These are all the people who are cooperating. Well, most of them are. Some of them are in hiding.
Well, this is the interesting part, is that up till now, all the names on the list, the bad boy list, weren't people, but entities.
Right.
So as of November 15th, 2016, that all changed. The IRS added a large amount of individuals, 40 people, 40 actual names.
And it just seems odd to have your name on irs.gov.
Right?
Right? Wow.
Okay, now you had mentioned the big deal is you're going to get that 50% penalty.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true unless you got your disclosure in before the effective date of the names being added to the list. Okay.
That's right.
You already said it applies to not just bank accounts.
That's right.
But there are options, correct?
Of course there are. There are options. You know, I would say this is the as we're talking, we had a guest on yesterday, Keith Redmond, and our own opinion of the tax profession might not be the highest. That a lot of times they are on the side of the IRS. They're on the sides of themselves. So a lot of times these people will recommend a full OVDP, even if it's more than what the client needs.
More billable hours.
More billable hours. Because if you're doing a full OVDP as opposed to streamlined, you have 8 years as opposed to 3. You have a larger, more complicated procedure than a simplified one. So unfortunately, this is something that we do see a bit of, that people will be scared into doing a full OVDP when they could do a streamlined. Because it really doesn't matter whether or not you can file a streamline or not. It doesn't have anything to do with if there's somebody on that bad boy list that you did business with. It's what your state of mind was. Because this happens a lot. I mean, we've had clients where not any bad boys. There's one I'm thinking of, and he didn't have a bad boy. He probably will be on the list, but isn't on there yet. And from the surface of it, with the shell companies, it looked like our client might have been doing something dubious. But basically he goes, no, they just didn't mention anything to me. They said you had to do it in shell companies, and no one ever said, hey, by the way, this is to avoid the U.S. payment of taxes. My client's understanding at the time that his worldwide income wasn't taxable. So they're not mentioning it to you because they don't want to be part of a conspiracy to say, hey, this is a good thing you're doing so you could avoid that U.S. payment of taxes, which if they said that to him, he says, what? What is this about? He would have stopped it right there to say, no, I don't want to do anything illegal. So there's a lot of people like that who were sort of, well, I thought what we were doing was, maybe I was avoiding payment, but I thought what I was doing was legal.
Right.
So
because there are legal ways to avoid taxes.
Oh God, yeah. There's a lot of people. We're going to be talking about that in I think maybe our next video.
Yeah, subscribe to us today.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about this is I think one of the biggest frustrating things that I have. I see these people added to this list, and I'm reading the indictments and reading the people getting involved, and I'm just shaking my head and that you're going through these great steps to avoid the payment of taxes that, I mean, you're really stepping over a line here. But I understand the pressure because you really can't stand paying taxes. I get it. I mean, taxes suck. And I do have my nieces and nephews all trained on that, by the way. They always, taxes suck. You're absolutely right. But there's great legal ways to do it. Mm-hmm. And and to tease I think our next episode, we're going to be talking about cost segregation when you have commercial property. I mean, there is something like, and I was just talking to an associate. There's 81 million properties in the U.S. that can benefit from this huge savings, but that doesn't include, because the rule also applies to any property owned overseas by a U.S. person.
Oh.
Yeah, and so even if you are, and this is something to think about too, because people who have offshore property, they're going through the voluntary disclosure. Well, look, you're going to get hit with a nasty penalty, right? Well, if you're going to hit that nasty penalty, now what cost segregation does is it allows you to accelerate certain expenses. Instead of 27 or 39-year property, you can condense it and you get an immediate tax savings, and you can amend it back so you get this big pile of cash that could helpfully offset, something not so nasty. Now, if you don't have such a bill, you just get that money in your pocket, and that's not too bad. So that's something we're going to talk about. I won't go any more into that.
So my question here is, now they're adding people. Why are they adding names of people that say worked at Credit Suisse if the bank itself was already listed?
Well, it could be a little bit of overlap, but also when I was going through and researching this article, I did notice that there wasn't, for a lot of these people, they weren't working at the entity the entire time.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes they were just working with UBS to open banks. Sometimes they were working with Vegelin. Sometimes they were just working with it. So I think they want to include some of the names too. And also, they might have had roles outside of the UBS. Somebody could claim that, I wasn't really working with UBS. I was working with this person.
This guy. And then my other question is, as I was going through, it looked as if some of the people might actually still be working. A very small percentage, but a couple look like they're still working.
It looks like some of them have been, some have been extradited, or at least have been fighting their extradition. Mm-hmm. Some are have surrendered. It looks like they're, for the people at Credit Suisse, UBS, I think there was a discussion there about who was going to go do the time. Mm-hmm. So there were some voluntary surrenders of people. Some of the voluntary surrenders did no jail time. They just had probation. Mm-hmm. Some of them did have jail time. And then there's a few who are just sort of hanging out in Switzerland, just doing whatever it is that they do. So I imagine they would not toss out their entire knowledge base and would continue in the world of private banking.
So perhaps if you're working with anyone on that list, you may want to find a new account.
You just say, well, this is a little exposure here. You just want to say, hey, just cover your butt a little bit.
Just going to work with somebody else. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
It's been good. Yeah. All right. So if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to contact us. We can certainly help you out. info@irsmedic.com, 888-727-8796. And definitely subscribe to our channel because we do have some really cool information coming in the next few weeks. You can like and comment below, and we'll respond to you. Thanks so much for watching.